has taken time out of their busy day to, jump on this webinar regarding our WP series, particularly the newly launched WP 816 and 826, which is, of course, our Wi-Fi handheld device that we just launched, as I stated last month. So we're looking forward to kind of just running through some of the specifications, some of the feature sets that we do have, ways that obviously in a deployable environment, projects that you're working on, particularly it'll be geared really toward our service providers. That happens to be, sort of what my role is, as you can see there, head of ITSP sales. For those that don't know me, Mike Osborne. Again, I work for Grandstream. Basically just sort of managing all of North America for a lot of our larger tier 1, some tier 2 service providers that we do have. I do have a telco background, of course. Prior to joining Grandstream, I actually worked for one of the largest ILEC telecommunication legacy service companies in the United States, or I would say probably worldwide as well. And that was sort of just managing and building, complex network infrastructures, everything from MPLS networks, co-location, fiber, point of entry, as well as telephony, obviously. So I'm very excited to, jump right into it, sort of, again, go over what we've been working so hard on. Our engineers have done a wonderful job with sort of taking some of the feedback that we've received regarding a lot of our older models that we do have in the WP series. So without further ado, we'll jump right into it. Again, the WP 816 and 826, which released, I believe it was, I know it was last month, the 22nd or 23rd of May. And we've been, honestly, just have been taken aback by the feedback that we've been receiving. We've had, so many requests from a lot of the service providers and partners that we've had to where they've just truly enjoyed testing and certifying this device. We have put a lot of investment and opportunity into this, obviously. So, for us to be able to finally have this launch, get into the market and really see it to make some noise is, of course, that's what we were hoping for. So we're glad to see it come to fruition, and hopefully that continues, obviously after this webinar or during, if there's any questions. We do have, I believe Abdel and a couple other individuals from Grandstream as well that will be manning the chat, that will answer the questions back and forth. So please feel free, if you see anything or you have a question about anything, jump in the chat, let us know. Since I'm sharing the screen, won't be able to see those until the very end. So let's jump right into it. Grandstream, #1 global provider of Wi-Fi IP phones. I would say predominantly a lot of people who have joined this particular webinar probably is familiar with us in some capacity, whether it be, obviously our ATAs, our desk phones, our GRP series, a lot of our other wireless or other handsets that we do have. Obviously, we've worked, again, so hard on this, particularly when it comes to the Wi-Fi side of things, first launching way back in 2015. So that should tell you that we've been doing this for quite some time. We've had the opportunity to sort of take a look at the market and try to understand, from a trend perspective, where everything is going. Obviously, as you know, in the UC space, we're seeing a lot of changes, and that's not only due to the fact that more people are using cell phones, obviously, whether it be for business or personal use, but also just for the simple fact that we have a lot of the internet and network that's starting to be built out, and of course, what comes with that is an opportunity to sort of make things a little more, I would say, tangible to be able to use on that internet service. So. We're seeing a little bit of some things that have changed regarding the desk side of things or the UC space. But what we've been so excited about is the opportunity to, of course, bring these Wi-Fi headsets to the market. And hopefully, after this webinar, as I stated before, you will find a lot of value in it as well for your organization or even your partners also. So what do we have right now? 27 current IP phone models, which it's quite a bit, obviously. They do come built in with the Wi-Fi, everything from desktop, video, cordless options, you name it, we have it. And of course, we have the networking side as well. So a lot of this will go hand in hand just for the simple fact, obviously, it's a Wi-Fi handset device that we're discussing here today. So I will make, a little bit of back and forth regarding, maybe some of the access points that we do have, as you see there with our GWN series, the APs, the routers, the network switches as well. All this goes hand in hand with what we're discussing today. So we'll jump right into it. So a little bit about, each model, the 816 and 826. It is coming with the Wi-Fi 6 option. Obviously Wi-Fi 6 right now is sort of where each device or carrier is going. Obviously, a lot of the network or the infrastructure itself is being built still currently. But as we're moving, obviously, from 5 and moving into 6, these particular devices are coming ready. And again, that has also the Bluetooth capability, the push to talk, which is a huge option for us, just because you'll see how it compares a little bit to the DECT line that we do have, our DP series. And I'll touch on that a little bit further throughout the presentation, but that's something that really you'll find where the value really lies, is the simple fact that this can be used in those environments where you were typically sort of deploying a lot of those DECT handsets before. So let's start with the design. We wanted to really sort of go back to the table. And if you've ever, sort of deployed or worked with or purchased any of our WPs, whether it be, the 820s, 810s, even the ruggedized version, the 825s, you'll notice these two models are a little bit more sleek, and a little bit more matte or darker gray than sort of that little, metallic, shiny finish that we were doing before. We just wanted to make it also a little bit more smaller and lighter and compact, just for the simple fact, of course, what we see is a lot of this being deployed in environments to where, whether, you were deploying DECT before, or, just for the simple fact that maybe you just need a cordless offering that is not clunky, so to speak, right? So how it compares to our other models that we do have, the 16 itself up to 41% thinner, 20% shorter, 63% lighter. We're all familiar, of course, with, other, phone manufacturers out there. Well, I would say on the personal side, right, with Apple, they go sleeker, they go smaller models. Of course, that's kind of just where the market is going. No one wants to have sort of that big, brick in their pocket, or where they need to deploy those in, whether it be a warehouse or, hospitality or whatever it may be. So we decided to, like I said, make it a little bit more compact, a little lighter, and really, to be honest, it definitely sort of aligns a little more competitively with our DECT line. So the 826, it's a little bigger, but not much. 35% thinner, 13% shorter, 54% lighter than the previous models before. Again, these two models in particular are, the last two, of course, that we launched last month. The WP 825 is still going to be the only ruggedized version. FYI, I know I've received that question quite a bit as far as to what happens with the other models. That will still be the offering there if you're looking for a more ruggedized option. But these two right here will be moving forward. So our go-to point, that's sort of where we'll start off. Just for the simple fact of course, the way they feel, the way they function, the way they look. We've received, again, great feedback from a lot of our partners, a lot of the providers that we work with that enjoy, having these in their hands, working with them, and the way they look, the way they feel. So let's get into the pricing first and foremost, right? I want to put this at the very beginning for the simple fact of, we want to ensure that you understand when we're talking about how it compares to the DECT line, and then others, of course, across the industry, when you're talking about in the marketplace. MSRP, $75 for the 816. WP 826 is only $95. Why that's important is for the simple fact that you won't find a more cost-effective option when it comes to a wireless Wi-Fi offering than these two devices right here. Again, we've, looked at the marketplace. We've been doing it, for over 5 years in this particular line, when you're talking Wi-Fi phones, and have really, sort of checked out whether it be comparatively to what we were offering before, or competitively, with a lot of our competitors that are out there. And we know sort of kind of where we come in from a price point perspective, just for the simple fact, obviously, of course, that, you don't necessarily need the base station as well. So obviously that's additional cost. So let's talk a little bit more about that, how it compares to DECT. in the further slides, I do have a comparison slide for that, so that way you can kind of see, back and forth of why we're putting a point of emphasis really on sort of deploying these WPs. So hopefully that pricing is, sort of takes you back and says, oh man, this is definitely a great opportunity, a great option for us. And then we'll keep us in mind for that. So let's talk about the WP816. Now the 816, of course, you're talking about dual band Wi-Fi 6 support. Again, moving on from the 5, and then obviously as we're moving forward, whether it be 6E, I know there's talk of 7 coming out as well. Hopefully we'll be able to address those at that time. But right now you're getting the latest and greatest at this point when it comes to, of course, a Wi-Fi support option. This particular device does come with 2 lines, of course, with 2 SIP accounts. 6-hour talk time, 120-hour standby time. You can read, through the rest of it. But really a great point is the inch of the screen there. As you can see, 1.77 inches is where we're at now, which of course is a little bit more smaller than, the other units that we have out there, whether it be the 20, 10, just for the simple fact, again, we wanted to make this more compact, more applicable to where you have environments that have a lot of different locations, different sites, or maybe technicians need to take it around the facility, whatever it may be. So that's kind of where we're at. Bluetooth 5 syncs to headsets, headphones, anything in between, push to talk, as I stated before. So you don't again, that's kind of where it comes in when you're talking about how it compares to the deck. If you're not losing that that capability or that ability to be able to do that. So I mean, we're extremely excited about that model. That's probably more, I would say the 816, of course. Let me go, before I move to the 826, shares the same form factor actually as the 725 on the DP side of things. So again, it compares, very, very welcomely to the deck line that we do offer. So let's jump into the 826 here. It's going to be a lot of the same, whether it comes for the Wi-Fi support. The difference is, of course, the lines. So this is a little bit more robust as far as to what you get. You get the 3 lines, 3 SIP accounts. It's going to be, roughly similar, rechargeable, 12 hours though here, 240 hours standby time. But the screen is a little bit larger, where it was 1.77 on the 16s. You get obviously 2.4 inches here. Again, full color LCD screen. So, not only is it sleek, but it also looks beautiful. It works very well. We have, so many testimonials that we could use to where, a lot of our service providers are just clamoring to get both of these units and, get their hands on it, test it. So that's kind of the, that's kind of where we're going. Don't take my word for it. Definitely just get your hands on it, play with it, test it, and then you provide us with that feedback. We feel very strongly in, sort of this devices that we've built. So we're extremely excited. Again, push to talk feature does a lot of the same things as the 816, does sync to your headsets, does sync to the headphones, and anything else in between. Now, when you're talking about how it compares model to model, again, I said the 826 is a little bit more robust. Comes with, one more line, SIP account, of course. Does have a better battery, double that. I know I said before it's pretty close or pretty similar, but I'm meaning in regards to what we're offering before. But when you're talking about just these 2 units side by side, the 816, of course, 6 hours, 12 hours for the 826, 120-hour standby, 244, the 826. Screen size, again, is a little bit bigger on the 826 as well. And then really it's all the same right after that. I mean, you have, the push to talk functionality, totally customizable. I want to make sure that I did say that as well. Again, you don't necessarily need to purchase a base station. So that's also, a cost savings there as well. We all understand, of course, if you work with deck, some of the, the setup that it takes to be able to get that out, get that running, get a provision. This is going to be more simpler in that aspect also. So again, we're looking at these 2 models as game changers at the end of the day. And that's a recurring thing that you'll hear throughout, this webinar, throughout this presentation. Whether it be our tier 1 providers that we do have or partners, we just, can't hear enough of the good feedback that we've received on this, just for the simple fact that, a lot of the competitors are not offering this yet. We've worked so hard, kind of putting this whole thing together. So a little bit on that. Now let's take a look at our, entire portfolio that we do have for our WP series. I mean, this is how it compares. So if you were doing the 820s, 822s, 810s, 825s before, this is how the new 826 and 816s would compare or be compared. So the 826 is the only one that's really going to be different regarding the amount of lines. As you can see, the 816 does share the same line, the same number of lines and SIP accounts as the 822s, 825, 820s, and 810s. And I would say also, of course, the rechargeable battery. You have a little bit better on the 826. Again, it's probably the most robust option that we do have. The 816, the 825, and the 822, fairly similar. Obviously with the older models, the 825, you get a little bit better talk time, but at the same time, again, we made this a little more compact option, so that battery is not as large. Now the screen size is going to be the same for the 826 as it is for the 25, the 22, and 20. So if you're like I said before, if you're already deploying that, you won't notice much of a difference in regards to that. However, you will notice once you hold the device, for the simple fact that it is a little more sleeker, but also, of course, you have that matte finish on it. And then if you're talking about, regarding the ruggedized version, again, these two units are not ruggedized, so you'll notice the difference there as well. All of them across the board came, of course, Bluetooth 5 capabilities, besides, of course, the 810s, which is the lower end model that we do have. All have the HD voice sustain, push to talk. So again, it's not something that's going to be, foreign language to you. If you're already deploying, the older models that we do have, the 825s, 22, 20s, and 10s, it's going to be fairly similar, except for, again, the way it feels, a little more sleeker, maybe even runs just a tad bit faster. But, you'll be able to, get familiar with this device, or at least your technicians and your engineers will be able to understand and get this all provisioned and set up if they were doing it our previous models. So. Now, Wi-Fi 6, between the 816 and the 826, if you're not familiar, of course, both dual band, of course, Wi-Fi 6, I've stated it before, which, all of our units that we've deployed so far, the 816s and the 826 have, just that feature alone has been, again, Wi-Fi is being built out, fiber networks by a lot of our providers that we do have, a lot of our, tier 1 ITSPs. They've done a wonderful job with, even in the rural areas, right, where it's not hard to get, Wi-Fi or get internet anymore. So that's why this right now is such a good option. So that's enough said on that. Easily paired with Wi-Fi networks that we do have, whether it's on-screen interface, mobile and smart devices. You do have the ability to, of course, bundle this. I do want to say that with a lot of our offerings that we do have on the networking side. So if you have our access points, routers, switches, and all that good stuff, again, all this can be bundled in. All of it works together. So it's a great opportunity to sort of build an entire ecosystem with Grandstream to be able to service the partners or clients or customers that you do have. Again, it's ideal. Wi-Fi 6 is ideal for deployments with handling many connections, many devices simultaneously, as I stated before. So let's talk about some of the advanced roaming support. And again, I know I'm running through this relatively quickly, so please feel free to continue to use the chat if you're not already. Any questions that you do have or any points that need to be made, we do have individuals taking a look at that right now, including one of our engineers at Dell. So feel free to use him as you see fit if there's any questions or anything that you do have regarding these particular devices, or anything else in general, whether it be on the networking side or UC. Pairwise master key caching. To be honest with you, I'm not sure if we have a lot of engineers or technicians that join this call. So we don't have to get too far in the weeds regarding some of the technical lingo or what that will include. We'll actually set up or schedule a separate call regarding, some of the sort of the back-end features of this, or even the firmware as well. And we'll just run through it at that point. But as you read through it on the screen, if there's anything that sort of, like I said, jumps out to you, please feel free to definitely ask in the chat. We'll get that answered immediately. Just so you guys are aware. I want to get back to the push to talk feature, just for the simple fact that it is fully configurable and customizable. So it's something that in just to kind of provide a personal story that we're working with. So we have a large ITSP that we've been working with, I would say, probably for the past year or so, that has finally brought both of these particular models in-house, tested it, start to really sort of set up their forecasting to get these deployed to a lot of their users, a lot of their customers. And one in particular was working with a large sort of maintenance retail chain, so to speak, that was using, of course, our deck lines before. And I do know that push to talk feature was something that they were hoping, or that they really loved about this particular phone, even though we've had it for quite some time. They just weren't used to it. They were using the DP side of things again. So deploying the Wi-Fi phones that we do, the WP series that we do have, you won't lose that at all. It gives you that ability, again, if you have technicians in separate locations, separate sites, or let's just say, for example, one would have customers that they would come in, try to do oil changes, and then the phone would be driven off with them after the oil change was over. And of course, you just lost that device. So having the ability, of course, to again, don't have to worry about sort of saying, hey, what are we going to do now that we lost that headset? I know they only had a couple in-house at that particular time for this particular project, but they were able to deploy now, multiple 816s and 826, or at least we're in discussions and conversations to do that right now for that particular project, to where that is no longer a worry. They have multiple units to be able to service a lot of the customers that they do have. The ability to instantly communicate throughout an office, again, warehouse, medical facility, school. So it's not just applicable, in that scenario. We have a lot of in the medical space. Of course, if you're if you're familiar with those type of projects, or you're working in that particular space, this is something that is we found would be of great value as well. Again, we've already gotten quite a few calls, and then quite a few projects that are being requested when it pertains to the medical space. So we're very excited, again, to be able to move forward and ensure that a lot of these industries or particular organizations, service providers as well, even in-house for their remote teams that they do have, being able to use these particular devices is something that has added a lot of value to us, and we've seen the volume sort of increase in a lot of the interest. So we're excited about that. And then, of course, it provides a critical safety feature as well. So you have the ability to, of course, check and sort of ring where those particular headsets are. Now, they do automatically sense and detect motion, provides auto wake when headsets are picked up. So you don't have to worry about even pressing a button. As soon as you lift, as soon as you pick it up, again, it's ready to go. Provisioning to act, whether it locks when it's being put down, so you don't have to necessarily type in the code or, lock it physically. As soon as you take it and you set it down, that plays into security, right? You don't have to worry about that, particular device being accessed by anyone outside the organization or anyone inside even as well. Make a call when dropped, you're still able to have that. It will send an alert to another user as well when dropped. And that was mentioning, that sort of goes back to my scenario when I was talking about, customers getting oil changes, sort of driving off with it. You're aware of that, you're flagged, it's happening. So you have the ability at least to adjust and sort of stop it before that does happen. And then, emergency features required, of course, by the warehouses, medical facilities, schools. We've ensured that we've abided by, all those regulations, policies, all the security specifications that are needed in order to assure that these can be deployed in those particular environments. So you don't have to worry about that as well. Let's lead into a little bit more about our GDMS, of course, which is our device management system that we do have. Again, I'm not sure necessarily how many individuals have already sort of, registered or used this in the past, or familiar with this particular offering that we do have. But just so you know, of course, these devices are able to, be managed on our GDMS system, free zero-touch provisioning, again, managing remotely, provisioning and managing the WP centrally, of course, from our particular cloud server that we have. Provide seamless mass provisioning as well, so you don't necessarily have to worry about, again, if you have multiple locations or headsets at different sites, have the ability to log in and do that seamlessly all at the same time. Just down the list, maintenance, pulling reports if needed, site by site, or even set up specific groups. So this particular management system that we do have, we find it differentiates itself a little bit, just for the simple fact, of course, that comes at no cost to you. It does come with a mobile app as well, availability. So please, if you're not familiar with our GDMS, again, schedule the call. Even if you're not doing, of course, our WPs, which is the nature of this particular webinar, it is something that we do offer throughout our UC. And of course, we do have the networking side coming in as well. So now, what are some of the target markets for these particular devices? We've already talked or alluded to a few of them when it comes to the medical space. I would say warehouse and retail as well, of course. But we haven't talked enough about the education or the businesses themselves. Again, we've worked with some of the largest service providers in North America and worldwide as well, to where a lot of these devices are being deployed, and we feel that the value has definitely been felt, regarding the ability to push to talk, the ability with the safety features that they do have, the provisioning, how easy it is. Again, we'll get into more of some of the differences, because if you notice something a lot throughout these spaces that you do have, the deck lines, our DP series was originally going to be deployed, through some of these scenarios, whether it be the medical warehouse space. And you'll see why, we're putting so much emphasis on, us sort of making that transition. And it's not just us, of course, this is what we're seeing market wide. Wi-Fi has really sort of taken the world by storm, so to speak, but particularly when it comes to our industries that we work in, and being able to sort of utilize and leverage that Wi-Fi is sort of what's going to set yourself apart. So that's why this is such an important addition to us and what we offer. And this is the slide that I really was excited to get to. The WP series, of course, being on the left, the deck side being on the right. So let's talk about a little bit about the differences between the two and why we're putting such a huge emphasis, a point of emphasis. And if you're already working or you're already considering decked, or you have a situation or scenario where you're like, hey, we have to go decked on this. This is why you might want to reconsider and take a look at our WP series, alongside, of course, the cost and the setup. Again, easy network setup, connecting to Wi-Fi manually, or via GDMS or cloud. Of course, when you're talking about deploying a deck line, you do need to call in the network administrators. You need to be there, set that up on site most of the times. And again, that takes, that's an additional cost. That's man hours, it's labor. So, just that comparison right there adds a benefit toward the WP series. Virtually unlimited call capacity, where, you'll see a lot of the deck units, or at least on our side, is limited to 5 to 10 concurrent calls at a time. So that, again, that was beneficial. That's a reason why we have, one of our large service providers that have sort of were originally interested in our deck line. And then, once we've sort of worked through it and talked through it, it was, hey, we need to go with the WP series for sure. Automatic, unlimited, seamless roaming, and with no additional equipment needed at all, just, right out the box, to where, of course, you need that base station. And that's where that cost comes in for the deck side of things, right? Easy to scale, all you need to do is just add APs. So for example, if you're deploying, a dozen or, hundreds, thousands, whatever it may be, and you need to add more, all you need to do is add the additional AP, and then you're off and running. To where, of course, you have on the deck side, most base stations only really support 5 to 20 handsets. And then, the scaling, of course, for that requires you have to add in new repeater systems, more base stations. It's just, it's totally different when you're talking about, setting up our WP series as compared to the deck lines that we do have or offer. Easy cloud-based mass provisioning. I've already mentioned that before. That's done via, GDMS, having that ability to go in and provision everything simultaneously. That's an additional benefit, of course. That's a lot of less, labor. It's not as labor intensive, so to speak, as the deck line would be. Of course, it's notoriously difficult for provisioning. If we have engineers on the call, I'm sure you can attest to that. And then managing the entire solution centrally. And this is both on the VoIP and the Wi-Fi network side. So this goes back into what I was, sort of talking about before when you're talking about bundling, whether it be our access points, the switches that we do have, the routers that we do have, and heading on down the line on our UC side as well. The WP series plays very well with all of them, and having that ability to sort of build a robust network or a network infrastructure via Grandstream is an additional benefit in itself. And then also you tie that in, of course, with our cloud managed service that we do have with GDMS. Everything can be done remotely. Everything can just be done with a click. Zero touch provisioning as well. So I mean, that's where we're getting at, is just trying to make this as easy as possible to make a transition, to set up, to get a provision with a lot of less work, and of course something that's a little more cost effective, and it just works a little more efficiently. And then the multi-purpose infrastructure. I've already touched base on that, but again, it does play well with our GWN series, a lot of our Wi-Fi APs that we do have, and more that we're actually even coming out with as well. So that's an additional benefit. Take a look, a lot of the differences, and I'll send, of course, if anyone wants to see this or, sort of wants to provide it to your team internally as well, we can have that discussion. I can go ahead and, get this information sent out. But this is just a great picture, a great view as far as to why we feel that our WP series is really going to overtake a lot of that deck market that we were seeing or that we were deploying before. It's not saying that the deck market's going away. We're still, we still have projects out there, obviously, that are deploying our DP series. We're still continue to do that. We'll still continue to support it. It's just when you're talking about, moving forward, what is really going to sort of lead the charge. And right now our WP series is outperforming, every device that we do have, quite frankly. So we're again, I keep mentioning the term excitement, but we haven't even sort of touched the tip of the scale yet, right? It's just about us sort of now, getting this in the hands of a lot of the service providers, a lot of the partners. A lot of you that are on this call, we've probably already sent demos out to, or there's already in the works. All we can really say is just, hey, provide us with that feedback. We've received some great feedback already, and allow us the ability to show you why we feel that, this WP line is really going to sort of, take over and help in a major way. So let's talk about a summary between them. If you didn't hear, any of the bullet points that we made on the last slide, WPs financially fit into any offering, better than deck would. Again, don't have to worry about purchasing that base station, and you're talking about setting it up and all that. The WPs are going to be a more simplistic sort of device. If you have projects that are looking at the deck series, please definitely take a look at the WPs as well. At least get a good comparison. Sometimes, you just have to lean towards deck, of course, but at least, you owe yourself the ability to kind of take a look, walk through, what can be done with the WP 816, 26s, or if you need a ruggedized version, or 25s or 825s as well, and then, move forward from there. But it's at a much, price lower than anything else you'll see on the market when it comes to a sort of wireless Wi-Fi handset. The deployment cost itself, superior scalability. Again, if you weren't paying attention on that slide, it's the ability to, just add an access point, of course, to where if you need to deploy more units outside of what you first initially set up. WPs are easier. It's really regurgitating a little bit of what I said before, but they're easier to deploy and manage in any scenario. So I won't have to touch base on that, but that goes throughout most settings, whether it be in the medical space, retail, or anything in between, hospitality, business, whatever it may be. WPPs provide superior quality as well, whether it be capacity, scalability, flexibility, just having the opportunity to be able to have multiple units, all get a provision, essentially through GDMS. There's just power in that, to be quite frankly honest. So deck to Wi-Fi transition in full effect. This is something that I want to touch on as well. So the cordless Wi-Fi's, which of course is fastest growing that we've seen right now in the VoIP market, and this is what I was mentioning before. This is not just us talking, right? Just for us. in our devices, our line or our series. This is what we're seeing market wide and throughout the industry itself. Everyone's looking for sort of that next cordless option, Wi-Fi option and opportunity. We know as some, a lot of the other, from a competitive perspective, we know now we're starting to have eyes, of course, on our WP series, just seeing, how successful it's starting to become, and a lot of the interests that have taken place in it. It lets us know that we're doing the right thing. And this is just kind of where the market is going. Again, whether it be taking over for, the deck side of things, or, a lot of the providers are just looking for that, cordless option, just because they don't have it right now in their portfolio. They might have the desk. They might have, the networking side with the access points or, cameras, whatever it may be. But having, this offering itself could really sort of open up your portfolio and offer something that is, quite frankly honest, not offered at this point in time by anyone else. So again, it's a great opportunity for you, great opportunity for us on this. And we'll leave it at that. And then Grandstream is the #1 global manufacturer of Wi-Fi IP phones. It goes back to what I was saying before. We started in this, we've built it out, from the ground up. We've taken a lot of the feedback that we received on some of even our older models that we do have. And we came back to the table and really just sort of put our best foot forward. And that's kind of what we feel that you're seeing right now with these particular devices, the WP816s and 826. It is just a simple fact that, hey, it's taken all the feedback that we received in the past, things that were working, and then maybe even some of the ones that weren't necessarily working before, and really just put our best foot forward and sort of built out this device here. So, please definitely, get in contact, me or anyone else, that's, sort of on this call that you see works for Grandstream, or if you're in touch with, your particular distributor or service provider, whatever it be, partner, please ensure that, you reach out. We're being very gracious with, the handsets that we're providing for both of these units, and ensuring that we're getting it in the hands of a lot of the engineers, the technicians, the service providers, so that way we can, sort of get the word out there, and so that, everyone knows that this is what we're offering and how great these particular devices really are. So, to rehash everything, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth capability, each unit 6 to 12 hour talk times, push to talk, having the ability, of course, to, provision it immediately, zero touch provisioning, I should say, being managed, of course, all on GDMS. There's so many options. And again, Wi-Fi, prior to really, I would say the last couple years, maybe, a lot of partners would probably be able to use, or I would say projects would be able to use that excuse where it's like, hey, we would go Wi-Fi, but it's kind of spotty out here in our area, whatever it may be. So we're going to go decked or any other option. Now that's not really the case, right? We haven't really run into yet at this point any scenario to where it's like, hey, our Wi-Fi is just not going to work here for this particular facility or this project or whatever it may be. So this is a great opportunity. You're getting at the, sort of the ground level here. We've already have, numerous conversations, interests, projects, deployments, everything that you can imagine is already in the works. So we'll continue to, of course, build this out. We'll continue to be available. Again, if there's, any questions that you do have, feel free definitely to reach out. And really that's just the gist of what I have here. I want to give everyone some time back as well. And hopefully, you found value in this. Again, if you want to schedule some time to do a more thorough review, particularly if you're on the technical side of things, right? You want to get, far in the weeds as possible with a lot of our engineers that we do have, just to ensure that this is something that, will be of value to you. We can definitely schedule a call. We can set that up, or you can ask, again, a lot of the partners that you work with right now. They're totally capable with doing that as well. We're here. So hopefully everyone enjoyed this particular webinar. Hopefully you see why we're so excited for these particular models. Again, I want to reiterate, $75 for the 816 MSRP, $95 for the 826. No base station. You don't have to worry about purchasing that like you would on the deck series. Easy to provision and set up. You don't have to worry about having someone on site or administrator do it. Push to talk capabilities. I mean, there's just so much. So please let me know. Hopefully you've enjoyed it as much as I have. I do appreciate each and every single individual that's on this call. I know your time is valuable, particularly when it comes at the beginning of a week, when you're leaving a weekend. You probably all have your inbox going crazy right now. So thanks so much. Looking forward to speaking to you soon. And let's continue the good push and good fight for the WP series. Appreciate it.